So I've kind of been going through a depressive episode recently, and if you're wondering why that is, it's because I have depression. But it's Halloween, or at least almost Halloween by the time I'm recording this, which means it's spooky month. Everybody likes to talk about spooky things during October, because Halloween's all the way at the end of it. It's like, well, we're all anticipating the spooky day. Let's just, get the hype ramping up until we get there. And it's just, I don't even have a Halloween costume. Anyway, people really like it when I explain random niche topics like the god Khonsu from Egyptian mythology or the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. And people also like animals. So if I have spooky stuff, animals, and me explaining something, that's a good video. So then the question becomes, what scary animal facts should I speak about? Because you guys don't know me, but my friends do. I say random animal facts all the time. Like there's a fish that sleeps in a bed of its own mucus because... So there's the animal fact that pandas in US and UK zoos are at the end of their deal with China to be loaned out to those places and are going to be recalled. Which is really unfortunate because the running theory for why the loans aren't being renewed is because the China's upset, like the diplomacy isn't working out and the pandas are a sign of that diplomacy. That's kind of a stupid reason because pandas are in danger. So having pandas spread out amongst the planet would mean that there's more likelihood for them to survive and repopulate because pandas really suck at repopulating. Also, I have a cold. Anyway, that's not really a scary animal fact, that's more of a sad animal fact. So I was like, oh man, what's a scary looking animal? My favorite amphibian in the world, the caecilian. One thing to clarify, I don't mean the people who live in Italy, I mean the weird looking worm guys. Caecilians are not worms, they're not snakes, they're amphibians that don't have legs, which is really sad for them, but it's kind of funny. They're fossorial, they live underground, and they're very secretive, they just like to hang out in their burrows and not really go outside much, which does mean they're blind. Like sure, they can develop eyes, they cannot see out of them, they have skin covering their eyes. They have little whiskers at the front of their face that they use to feel out stuff, and they have a very pointy head because of their skull, which allows them to dig. This also means that their head it's phalanx-shaped. It's phalanx-like. It doesn't look like a phalanx at all. I'll get to why they're scary in a second, but in the 5th grade, I had a partner project where I had to discuss just like amphibians in general. And so we looked like, okay, what's all the types of amphibian that you can go through? There's frogs, there's toads, there's salamanders, there's newts, and caecilians. And then I researched them for the project, and they're the coolest little guys ever. So caecilians have two ways of being born. One is the normal way that an amphibian is, and one is through live birth. Hi, I'm going to interject because I don't think I explained it properly in the original recording, so let me tell you about how caecilians reproduce. Right off the bat, caecilians are different from other amphibians because they don't do external fertilization, they do internal fertilization, which is... Have you guys ever seen frogs fertilize eggs? So the female frog will sit on the bottom, laying eggs, and the male frog will sit on top of the female frog, fertilizing the eggs with its, excretions. Anyway, 25% of the world's caecilians are oviparous, which means they lay eggs that give rise to their young. 75% of them are viviparous, which means that they give live birth. Oviparous caecilians typically go through the same process that other amphibians do, where they're born as a larva, they go through a metamorphosis, and they become an adult caecilian. Here's some pictures of baby caecilians. They have like a little tail, they've got gills. They're funny looking. Although some oviparous caecilians also are just born adult looking, so no metamorphosis involved, they did it inside the egg, they're fine. Now for the other 75%, there are multiple ways that these young fetuses eat so that they can be developed inside of the womb before they're born. If you know what a placenta is in a mammal, it's kind of similar. There is a special set of cells within the female caecilian that the fetuses are allowed to feed on. Though if we're gonna get Halloweeny and a bit gory about this, there are some species of caecilian that develop an external set of cells, which the baby caecilians are then allowed to eat. So they just peel it off of their mom. This is known as maternal... This is known as maternal dermatophagy. This is known as maternal dermatophagy. Dermatophagy. Saying it that way kind of sounds like I'm saying a slur. Now here's the cool thing about caecilians, because while most amphibians do have a poison secreting gland on their skin, which allows them to coat themselves in a toxic substance that allows predators to be like, ew, I don't want to eat this. But caecilians, while also having these poison secreting glands, are a little bit different because they're the only amphibians that we know of to actually have a venomous bite. And not only that, I need to remind you guys that amphibians and reptiles are on very different parts of the evolutionary tree. They both have very similarly functioning venomous bites without being related. Here's the inside of a caecilian's mouth. Look at all those teeth. They're fascinating. They're so weird to look at. I love caecilians. Again, not the Italians. The Italians are okay, but they're not the freaky little worm dealies, and I love the freaky little worm dealies. Where are my glasses? Within the same area that their teeth is, they have venomous glands that when they bite into a prey, they can secrete venom into the same way snakes do. If you're wondering what caecilians eat, it's usually like worms,
or bugs, or frogs. They eat frogs sometimes, and I just think that's interesting. What's crazy about this is that caecilians are very hard to find because they live underground and they're very secretive and they just don't like to come out beyond like swimming in water sometimes. The reason that we know that they produce venom wasn't discovered until July 3rd, 2020 in this paper. Mind you, we know there's almost 200 species of caecilian in existence, and we didn't know they had venom until 3 years ago. Why aren't there more caecilians in zoos? I feel like we should put them in zoos. It'd be kind of hard though because they like living in dirt. I mean, if you could get like rocks that are see-through, maybe it could do like the same thing, because like they wouldn't know, they can't see. I deserve caecilians in zoos so I can look at them more. Anyway, if you want to know more, I'll link the paper in the description, and you can just research caecilian, like just go caecilian in Google, and then you'll be like, what? Like, it's not hard to find them on the internet, it's just hard to find them in they don't even live in America. Like, they live in South and Central America because they like tropical zones, and America doesn't. I mean, maybe they could live in the swamps of Louisiana. They're like in like around the equator-ish, like Africa and India, but not anywhere near me. We don't know whether or not this is good or bad news, but in 2021, caecilians were located in Miami by Florida fish and wildlife biologists. Scientists of the Florida Museum of Natural History used DNA testing to identify the specimen as the Rio Cauca caecilian, a native of Colombia and Venezuela. Museum experts say it's too early to predict their potential impact on the local ecosystem. This species of caecilian is the most common caecilian in the pet trade. Because the species is generally kept in aquariums indoors, it can't easily escape. He suspects someone discarded their unwanted pets in the canal. So they can be pets. I think I deserve one as a pet. I think they're really cute.